I know one of the hardest parts of becoming a manager isn't necessarily like leading a team with all the outward tools and practical things, but when you were recently their peer or their friend, and now you have to manage them, we have to do some redefining of how they see you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. A few short years ago, I went from being part of a team to actually leading it. It was October 2020, and I just got the news that I was being promoted to operations director. We were a small, tight-knit team at the time, just 12 people, and I was thrilled about the new title, the raise, and after years and years of hard work, it felt like I'd really made it. Then Monday rolled round, and after the big team announcement, reality hit me, and so did the dread. I realized I actually had to do this now. And these people who'd originally be my colleagues, my friends, people that I'd once shared drinks with and secrets with, now suddenly I had to manage them. Handling the processes, having added responsibility, and the technical side of the role didn't actually feel like a problem to me. But leading a team of more than 10 people who just last week were my mates, that was a different story. I felt like I had to prove I was worthy for them to listen to. And I felt as though they were thinking, who is she to tell me what to do? They weren't, but that's really what it felt like. But I was in that ops director role for just over 3 years. And in the end, we had 100% team retention, incredible results, and my own salary tripled. All because of the results I was having with this particular team. I'm gonna share the tips and tricks I just wish someone had told me back then, so you can make the transition without all that sticky trial and error that I had to go through. Firstly, be curious. You need to take time to be interested, not interesting. A lot of the imposter syndrome that I held in this situation came from the fact I felt as though I needed to know all the answers, like somehow being the boss means we have to just know everything. But give yourself a bit of leeway, give yourself 30 days to just ask questions, don't give any answers, just listen. Trick 2 is address the elephant in the room. Take Rosa Rios, the 43rd US Treasurer, and before her leadership role, Rosa actually worked alongside her peers. She gained their trust as an equal, so when she stepped into a position of authority, the dynamic really shifted. Rios saw skepticism from her team, and some questioned her actual ability to lead, while others just struggled to see her in a new light. But instead of letting that doubt undermine her, she addressed the elephant in the room really early on. She acknowledged the shift in her role and the challenges that came with it. She understood that respect couldn't be just demanded from her team, it had to be earned. And after I'd spent about 6 months panicking if I was good enough, worrying what others would think of me, I did the same. I had those conversations with my ex-peers. I even explained to them how I felt a bit of imposter syndrome and just lent into that vulnerability a little bit. I had this tactic where I'd always share a few insecurities of mine with the team, because as soon as you say an insecurity out loud, it actually loses half of its power. It brings your team closer to you and helps them come along this journey of progression with you. Now, you don't need to share all the gory details, but something like, this feels a little strange for me going from your peer to manager, and it's an entirely new feeling that I am currently figuring out. So if you feel the same or have any questions, I'm an open book, so let's talk about it. I didn't pretend to have all the answers and instead just encouraged the team to bring them to the table. Rosa's efforts paid off too. Over time, she transformed the skepticism into some real loyalty and cooperation. Under her leadership, her team excelled in implementing initiatives that massively strengthened the US Treasury's operations and visibility. Trick number 3 is focus on growth, not perfection. I stopped focusing on being right and only focused on getting better. That way, if I messed up, it didn't matter. When we seek growth, we're not actually bothered about being perfect. You instead figure out what learning needs to happen and just lean into it. The pressure starts to loosen, and ultimately you'll become so much less scared of failure and stop letting that fear hold you back from all the growth that you deserve. Now, if you've gotten this far, it is clear to me you are committed to leveling up your leadership. You should take my leadership level up quiz. It's completely free. You just need to answer 18 questions and you'll get a detailed report of exactly where you need to improve your leadership and the practical steps you can start taking to do it today. The link is in the description. It will take you literally 3 minutes. Trick number 4 is set clear expectations. Bozoma St. John, a renowned marketing executive, emphasizes the importance of being upfront. She once said, "Authenticity is my superpower." So by starting with this clear, honest communication, you can show your team what they can expect from you and what you can expect from them. So after you have an initial conversation with your team to understand their goals, follow it up with a written summary. Just make sure everything is so clear. It ensures that everyone is on the same page and creates a really great reference point moving forward. And this is especially big when you are stepping into a management role after being one of the team. Setting those clear expectations up front helps avoid any awkwardness or confusion about this new dynamic. I know this bit can feel a little bit weird and scary, but the sooner you get it done, the better. And then your final trick number 5, is build boundaries, but without alienating the team. You need to set boundaries, and it can be tricky, especially when you've been close with the team. Peer-to-peer boundaries can look very different to the way the manager-to-peer ones now need to look, but you have to be clear about where you draw the line. For example, you might say, I'm here to support you, but as your manager, I will sometimes have to make decisions you do not agree with, but my goal is always to prioritize the team's success. Boundaries are not restrictive, they're actually really empowering. So what are your boundaries? Start with the simple things like texting outside of work hours, going for drinks after work, talking about your personal relationships. Decide where you draw the line with those things. We need to find a really good balance between being real and vulnerable and setting those hard lines. And I'm gonna hit you with a final truth that I wish I'd have known back in the early days. You don't need to change all that much. You have been given the position of manager because of who you are right now. You don't need to become 10 times better or a completely different person overnight. You are enough exactly as you are. You do not need to magically become someone else new just because you are a manager. Making this transition isn't always easy, but it is definitely one of the most rewarding steps you can possibly take in your career. Focus on creating those fair boundaries and earning respect through all of these actions. And if you are ready to take this one step further, check out my other video, How I Turn My Team into High Performers, and how you can too. And we upload videos every single week to take you on the same journey I went on into being an incredible manager. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss a single one.